Disputes and money issues are common in families. On the other hand, some families are able to stay strong and get by day to day. You can't help but notice which one is happy, can you? Hi, I'm Rachel. Even as a young child, people have teased me about being different. Whatever it is that makes me unique, I have no idea. All I know is that people tell me I am. Having your uniqueness criticized is not an issue. Worst of all, my own parents are ignoring the problem. I had a very alone upbringing because of this. I have a natural talent for reading people's minds and feeling their emotions. Why am I able to do this? I have no idea. It's not always obvious to me, but it feels as natural as breathing or moving my hand. To this day, I still don't get why some people just can't achieve what I did. At one point, a coworker my dad had brought home from the office gave me the creeps. My mother ignored my warnings about being cautious with that individual. My dad was misled into signing a loan guarantor contract by that coworker later on. Despite my mother's disbelief, I warned my father. Dad, something is telling me that the word joint is dangerous, as he and his colleague left the table. Joint is a word I don't understand, so please use caution. My dad was hesitant to sign as a co-guarantor, so we didn't do it. That allowed my dad to escape fully bearing the obligation when a coworker of his declared bankruptcy and was unable to repay it. I once sensed a surge of unease approaching from behind my mother and me as we were out shopping. Upon turning back, I sensed an unsettling presence emanating from a man donning a cap and sunglasses. "Mom, I think we should go down that side street." I took hold of my mom's hand and led her down the side street. As we were about to leave, someone yelled out, "Thief," from the street we had just come from, leaving my mother perplexed and wondering what had happened. The unsavory character had absconded with a woman's purse. Horribly injured, the woman fell. The man was aiming for my mom if we hadn't gotten off the main road. Because this kept happening, people began to view me as odd and mystifying. When my parents started avoiding me, I knew I was going to be alone and lonely. Others did not perceive things in the same way that I did. My ideas began to remain private. Since I realized that most people don't understand how I feel, I stopped talking about it. They wouldn't perceive me as strange if I remained silent. I would simply act like any other child. I have a sister, Julie, who's 4 years younger than me. Unlike me, Julie is a regular kid. As the years went by, I became more withdrawn, but Julie just got cuter and more charming. It was clear who everyone preferred. Our parents started to favor Julie over me. They would say, "Julie is such a lovely girl, but Rachel seems to be a bit on the darker side." They noticed I had become less odd lately, but still thought I was different. What they called odd was me not talking about things only I could sense. It was my way of dealing with the world. I was tired of how this ability of mine was torturing me, so I tried hard to suppress it. I wondered if my attempts to hide myself and appear normal were making me seem abnormal, or if, once labeled as the odd kid, that image just couldn't be erased. I grew up without much love from my parents. On the other hand, Julie received all the love, including what should have been mine. Julie, who was spoiled and pampered, sensed our parents being cold and distant toward me. She started to look down on me. "I don't like being around you. Your gloominess rubs off on me. I'm so cute, but your lunar image brings me down." Julie started to insult me whenever she got the chance. Our parents lightly scolded Julie, but never seriously tried to correct her. When I was in 8th grade and Julie was in 5th grade, she was scouted by a talent agency on the street. I knew it. It's because I'm cute. They said I could even appear on TV. Julie said, pleased with herself, she started dreaming big, and our parents didn't seem entirely against it. "You should calm down and think carefully." I sensed something shady about this. I spoke up, expressing the intuition that I had long suppressed because I didn't want Julie to get into trouble. Julie, who didn't know about my unique abilities, said, "What's your problem? Are you just jealous because you're not cute and nobody approached you?" Don't say weird things and stop interfering with me." She seemed furious. Even my parents, who knew about my ability, either forgot about it or were too excited about Julie standing on the glamorous stage. They sided with Julie and criticized me. After that, I resolved to remain silent again. I told myself that there was nothing good in saying unnecessary things. One day, a student teacher came to my junior high school. He was a male college student who graduated from the school and wanted to be a physical education teacher. As he shared his dreams about education and gave a strong greeting, the teacher and students, especially the female students, were charmed. When he responded cheerfully to the girls' excited cheers, I sensed a dark aura from him. I had always vowed to hide my unique abilities, but seeing my classmates potentially in danger, I decided to break my self-imposed rule. I chose a teacher who seemed understanding and talked to her. "I know that this is sudden, but please believe me and help me," I said. The teacher was puzzled by my sudden request, but agreed to stake out a certain location after school, just as I asked. I didn't tell the teacher the details. I had no reason to think she would believe me, but the fact that she agreed to help without any explanation made me think she wasn't an ordinary person either. The next day, the school was in an uproar. The male student teacher was arrested for violating a public nuisance prevention ordinance. The location where the teacher staked out was near the girls' restroom. Within 10 minutes of starting the stakeout, the student teacher appeared, entered the restroom, and installed a video camera. The teacher caught him in the act. Thanks to that, the female students were saved from being secretly filmed, and their dignity was protected. Meanwhile, my sister, who had joined the talent agency, was proudly telling everyone about it, but there were no real lessons or auditions. She only had to pay expensive membership and lesson fees. Then suddenly the agency closed down, leaving an empty shell. In short, my sister was scammed. She cried and screamed, directing her anger at me. "It's all because you said weird things. My future is ruined, and it's all your fault." It didn't make any sense, but my sister seemed to truly believe it. Maybe that's the only way she could handle it. For me, it was a disaster and a nuisance. Our parents didn't say such unreasonable things, but their attitude became more distant toward me and more supportive of my sister. I ended up feeling lonely again, as the odd one out. I was happy that I could help everyone at school, but I was terrified that my actions would corner me. That's when I received a call from the teacher who had listened to my story, asking me to come to the staff room. Worried that I would be labeled as strange again, I opened the door to the teacher's office. "You knew something like that was going to happen, didn't you?" The teacher asked me in a low voice, without any preamble. Thinking there was no point in pretending, I gathered my courage and told the teacher about my mysterious power. "I thought so. I know there are very few people like you," the teacher said. For the first time, someone showed understanding for my situation. The teacher said they knew someone with a power like mine, and that's why they could understand. Actually, that person is my aunt, and I've been listening to her stories for a long time. You must be worried about a lot of things because of your power. Maybe getting advice from someone who's been in your shoes will help clear your mind. The teacher continued. Saying that, the teacher introduced me to the person. The person looked at me with kind eyes and said, "It's natural to be worried, but you don't need to suffer." I was drawn to their gentle yet deep eyes that seemed to see through everything. The person's name was Hannah, and she had the same kind of power as me. Since she was a child, she had experienced a lot of struggles in hiding herself throughout her life. The stories from my senior, who had gone through the same experiences, helped me release my worries and doubts. From this day on, my interactions with Hannah began. I called Hannah my mentor, but she just gave a wise smile and said, "Please don't." Thanks to Hannah, or rather my mentor, I changed. I had been living my life quietly, trying to stay unnoticed, but as my awareness grew, I gradually began to live a normal life as an ordinary girl. However, since the incident with the talent agency, I haven't been able to reconcile with my sister. If anything, it feels like we're drifting apart. It's become normal for her not to talk to me, and when she does, it's just to complain or insult me for no reason. I often have no idea what triggers her mood switches. My power couldn't predict my sister's emotional changes either. Just because you got into college doesn't mean you're all that. It's not even that great of a school, and you're so happy-go-lucky, she would say. My sister, who had hoped to get into her top-choice high school, ended up at her second-choice school. Because of that, she got mad when I got into my first-choice college. It's not like I bragged to her, she just dissed me because of her own frustrations. Our parents only tried to appease my upset sister and kept their distance from me, as if telling me to stay away from her. It seemed that my sister didn't like the fact that I had become brighter since meeting my mentor. To my sister, I had to be a dark and gloomy girl who was inferior to her. But my sister is really smart. It was surprising that she failed her high school entrance exams. Of course, she was filled with frustration and poured all of that into studying at her new high school. As a result, she was at the top of her class for all 4 years and got accepted into a prestigious national university on her first try. I got into the most difficult university. Your college doesn't even come close to mine, she boasted. I lightly responded with, "That's true," to my satisfied sister because I knew nothing good would come from getting too involved with her. However, my sister thought that my light reaction was belittling her accomplishments and unleashed a barrage of verbal abuse at me. Both my parents were at their wits' end with my sister, who couldn't be calmed down once she lost her temper. All they could do was watch nervously. They blamed me for causing the trouble and eventually ended up calling me a troublemaker. I wanted to argue back about who the real problem child was, but I always swallowed my words to avoid complicating things further. Setting aside my sister's issues as I approached college graduation, I had to seriously confront my own career path. I was no longer as introverted as I used to be. I still struggled with socializing and had little confidence in building good relationships with others. My ability allowed me to detect people's negative emotions. While I could sense positive emotions, too, it seemed people were more prone to negative ones, which made detecting such negativity painful for me. Throughout my school life, I was tormented by these swirling negative emotions and had come close to losing faith in people. Could someone like me really manage to work at a company? I decided to consult my mentor about this dilemma. I wanted to learn how she had overcome similar issues, as I was sure she had faced them as well. I have experienced the same worries as you. Maybe you should consider doing the kind of work I do, she suggested. My mentor used to work as a fortune teller and a counselor, helping people resolve their problems. She could use her abilities to their fullest extent and contribute to the world and people around her. Also, she was able to work freelance, which meant she didn't have to belong to any organization. This way, there were fewer chances of getting entangled in human relationships or being affected by other people's emotions. It's the perfect job for people like us, she said. Encouraged by my mentor, I decided to pursue the same line of work. She taught me everything, from how to do the job to how to acquire clients. Nowadays, thanks to the internet, it's possible to work from home without any issues. When I told my parents and sister that I would not seek employment after graduation and work from home instead, they responded, "What's that? What kind of job is that? Seems so dumb. You'll be home all the time. At least make sure to do the housework. Can you even make a living doing that? How will you cover living expenses?" Well, as long as you contribute to the household, do whatever you want. While I expected such a response from my parents, it made me feel a little lonely that they didn't support me more. I felt sad thinking about their demands for housework and money. My mood darkened, and so my life working from home began. At first, I didn't have any job requests and struggled day by day, but with my mentor's help, I gradually got the hang of it and started to make a living. For about a year, I couldn't contribute financially to the household, so I focused on doing the housework. My dad seemed unsatisfied, but my mom was relieved and kept him in check. After about a year, when I finally started contributing financially, my dad mocked me by saying, "Oh, finally, you're able to earn some pocket change, huh?" But I could tell he was actually quite satisfied with the money. However, even though I was contributing, the amount of housework I had to do didn't decrease, and our lives remained unchanged. Then, after another 3 years, my sister graduated from college and secured a job at a foreign company. Unlike you, I'm an elite. You're just unemployed, living at the bottom of the barrel. It's so depressing to have you as a sister, she would say. My sister, who had successfully landed a job, started to belittle me for working from home. "What are you even doing working from home? That's just like playing. You're nothing more than a parasite living at home," she'd say at times. "It's really weird not to work outside. I'm working hard, earning everyone's respect, and now I've been promoted to team leader. My pay is going to increase, and I'm probably earning about 5 times more than you. There's no way a shut-in like you can earn that much." My sister, who was promoted to team leader after only a year and a half at the company, kept one-upping me and looking down on me. She boasted about her good salary but hardly contributed any money to the household and didn't help with the chores at all. Laundry, cleaning, preparing meals, everything was dumped onto Mom and me. When I say Mom and me, Mom mostly left it to me, so I was basically doing everything. Whenever I said to her, "Julie, you should take care of yourself a little. You shouldn't just spend all your money on fun. You should contribute to the household too," she just dismissed me, saying, "You, the unemployed, can handle the chores. I'm saving my money for my future." Our parents also just let her do what she pleased for some inexplicable reason of, "It's Julie, it can't be helped." I was used to my current lifestyle, and it was a comfortable environment for me to work, so I wanted to keep it that way. But I was starting to consider how to take care of myself. Then came the bombshell announcement from my sister. Without any prior warning, both our parents and I were taken aback as she continued, "He's a real elite with an annual income." She sneered at me and added, "Marriage is just a pipe dream for someone unemployed like you, isn't it?" She said she would bring her boyfriend over the next Sunday. With the rapid succession of sudden developments, Sunday came, and we were still reeling. The man my sister brought along looked like a successful young man, impeccably dressed in a sharp suit. "Nice to meet you. My name is Jack. I would like to ask for your permission to marry Julie," Jack said, greeting us properly and showing good manners. "Isn't he wonderful? Just as I said, I'm going to be so happy with this man," Julie gushed. "So, Jack, what do you do for a living?" Dad managed to ask, clearly impressed by Jack's presence. "Yes, I'm currently training at a company that my father owns," Jack replied. We were puzzled by the word training, and then Julie said gleefully, "His father is the president. He's training now to take over the presidency in the future." My sister seemed over the moon about becoming a future president's wife. Afterward, we had various conversations, and Jack left stylishly. There were a few things that made me raise an eyebrow during the conversation, but my parents were thrilled with the high-status man. However, I felt an inexplicable dark shadow from that seemingly refreshing and good-natured man, Jack. It was something only I could sense, so I didn't know how to explain it. I could no longer remain silent, fearing that marrying a man with hidden issues would make my sister unhappy. "Julie, you've only been dating him for less than 4 months. You might want to understand him a little more before deciding to get married," I cautioned, driven by a strong gut feeling. "Sis, he's an elite and a future CEO. You won't find anyone better than him. Oh, I see, you're jealous, aren't you? You're bitter because you're comparing your life to my happy one? Poor jobless sis," she retorted. Even our parents got angry at me for interfering with Julie's happiness. "You're just unemployed, so at the very least, "Stop interfering with your sister's happiness," they said. It was clear that our parents were hoping to secure a comfortable old age by marrying Julie off to a wealthy man. Frustrated by my inability to effectively communicate my concern about the dark shadow I sensed looming over Julie, my head was spinning. In the meantime, the two got engaged and a meeting between both families took place. Jack's parents, like him, carried an air of freshness about them, but I felt the same ominous cloud hidden behind them. However, I was unable to convey this danger to my overjoyed sister and parents. Before I knew it, the day of the wedding had arrived. "The CEO of our company is attending today's reception. Can you comprehend how much I'm appreciated and anticipated in my company? I guess it's a kind of honor that a shut-in like you wouldn't understand," my sister said gleefully before leaving the house. She always included some derogatory words directed at me. At the wedding ceremony held at a hotel, the couple, who pledged eternal love to each other, entered the reception hall. Watching my sister, who was beaming with joy, I worried about how long this happiness would last. As my sister mentioned, the CEO made a keynote speech full of praise for her, which delighted her. Once the speeches were over, food and drinks were served to each table. There were all sorts of delicious-looking dishes, but I started to feel a sense of discomfort. Gradually, I realized that no dishes were being served in front of me. At first, I thought my meal was just late, but other tables were already being served drinks, appetizers, and so on, one after another. Clearly, something was off. Nothing was being delivered to me. People at the same table began to notice this oddity and started whispering among themselves. At that moment, my sister came over to me and whispered into my ear with laughter in her voice, "We didn't prepare free meals for the unemployed. After all, it's such a waste to serve such food to a jobless person. You should just eat potato chips at home. Just leave your gift money and go home." This outrageous remark was spoken loudly in my ear, and my ears rang. Jack, sitting at the groom's table, was grinning and nodding. Even our parents, who at first seemed surprised, said, "Well, it's true. Rachel is jobless after all." I was first taken aback, then a wave of anger surged up within me. "I never thought you'd stoop this low, sis. Mom and Dad, this is unacceptable. How could you accept such rudeness?" My parents just scowled at me, never bothering to reprimand my sister. "Fine, I get it. I'm leaving, but don't come crying to me later," I said. "You sound like a sore loser," she shot back. Amidst the chaos of these unbelievable events, a man suddenly stood up. "Sorry to interrupt. I'm the groom's brother, Larry. My brother and parents are trash, but it seems the bride is even worse. I can't take it any more," said the man who introduced himself as Larry. He continued, "Dad, your company went bankrupt 5 months ago, didn't it? Pretending to still be a CEO is just a scheme to mooch off the bride and her family. Jack will never become a CEO. He's planning to leech off his wife while pretending otherwise. He's unemployed now." Larry's words caused a commotion among the guests, but my sister was the most heated. "What do you mean? You lied to me. What do you mean, unemployed?" she demanded, her face turning from red to blue, her eyes welling up with tears. Our parents, their assumptions proven wrong, began to yell and curse. The anguished cries of my family echoed throughout the venue. The groom and his parents remained silent, looking sulky. Before the ceremony, I had received a confession and apology from Larry and asked him to speak his mind without reservation if something happened during the reception. As my sister was berating Jack with a wrathful face, another man couldn't take it any more and stood up. It was the president of my sister's company. "Enough already. This is embarrassing. You have no right to criticize the groom. What do you think about your terrible attitude toward your own sister?" The president's angry voice made my sister's face contort in fear. "For one, I didn't attend your wedding for your sake. I wouldn't have come if you weren't the sister of Rachel." Suddenly, my name was mentioned by the president, and my sister's eyes widened in surprise. "Huh, who are you talking about?" "Rachel is a goddess to many of us business owners, rescuing countless companies from the brink of collapse," he continued. "In fact, with the guidance of my mentor, I had been working as an advisor for corporate revitalization and growth. Starting with fortune-telling and life consultation, I used my abilities to show companies the path they should take. All my advice was spot on, and the companies that sought my help experienced a rapid resurgence in business, achieving a V-shaped recovery. As a result, I had earned titles like teacher and goddess. My sister's company had also consulted with me 5 months ago, and thanks to my advice, it had been reborn as a stronger enterprise. The president, grateful for my assistance, attended the wedding today as well. I had no idea. You're not just a basement-dwelling unemployed nobody, are you?" my sister said, finally realizing the truth. Thanks to my thriving career, her assumptions had been shattered. "I now earn several times what you do, despite contributing significantly to the household income. Our parents never seemed to care about me. They thought that money was from Julie." "Oh, we thought Julie provided that money," they said, misunderstanding the situation. There was no way Julie would have been contributing money to the house. The wedding reception turned into a chaotic scene and was called off. Naturally, all the guests were fully refunded their wedding gifts. "I've already signed a contract for an apartment under my name. I can't afford it on my own, especially now that he's unemployed," my sister sobbed. Jack retorted, "You're the one who signed the contract." "I don't know anything about that." The wedding was a complete disaster, resulting from my sister's malice toward others. She may argue there were reasons for her behavior, but they didn't hold up. Afterward, Julie divorced Jack and claimed alimony. Since Jack was jobless and his parents didn't have much, she couldn't receive much alimony. She barely managed to pay for the wedding venue, let alone the apartment she had contracted. The place that was supposed to be their love nest was never occupied and was eventually canceled. However, the debt didn't simply vanish, and Julie found herself heavily burdened by loans. Moreover, her outrageous behavior at the wedding quickly became known among her colleagues, leading to a rapid decline in her reputation. The CEO had no choice but to demote her. With no place left in the company and having lost her pride as an elite, Julie wanted to quit and run away. But she had to bear the embarrassment for the sake of loan repayment. She continued with a trivial job in a hardly noticeable basement storage room. Jack and his parents, who had failed in their plan to leech off Julie, were now scraping by with occasional day labor. Naturally, Jack's elder brother, Gary, had cut off all ties with his parents and brother. The parents quickly gave up on Julie when she hit rock bottom and tried to cozy up to me instead. To them, I said, "I've had enough of being manipulated by you. I'm cutting ties. Goodbye forever." I declared this and moved out to start a new life in a newly rented apartment. They took in the fallen Julie, who was struggling to make ends meet. With her pay cut so severely, Julie was unable to help out with the bills around the house. Naturally, I also stopped putting money into the house. Our parents were rapidly overwhelmed and battled day in and day out to make ends meet without my financial assistance and without being able to reduce their way of living. Attempting to keep up the standard of living they had become accustomed to became an everyday struggle when they were short on cash and anxious. Meanwhile, I was experiencing great success at work. Many people and businesses have benefited from my abilities as a compass, which I have used to point them in the correct path. My clientele increased as word of mouth spread about my expertise. I felt fulfilled and financially secure after this success. Seeing the difference I was making in people's lives and finally being recognized for my talents was a great feeling. I began dating Larry after the wedding incident. Because he was so forthright and courageous throughout that tumultuous period, we became close. I said yes when he asked me out not long ago. Our future may include marriage if all goes according to plan. No shades of evil dwell within Larry. He's a guy of impeccable character. Larry stood out from the group of fake and uncaring people my sister had been hanging out with. It is my hope that Larry and I can have a long and happy life together. A future characterized by love, mutual respect, and understanding is what we hope for as a couple. Having him by my side has filled me with optimism and anticipation for the future. We have discussed our goals, aspirations, and intentions to be there for each other through thick and thin. A range of feelings is coursing through me as I consider everything that has transpired. My sister and dad never valued me, therefore I'm glad I severed relations with them. Despite everything that has happened to me, I am pleased with the person I have turned out to be, and I am thankful to Larry for the love and light he has given into my life. In the future, I perceive nothing but sunshine. The thought of being married to Larry and starting a family with him fills me with joy. I can be myself around him and never worry about being unloved or unappreciated. I am excited for our future together because our love and partnership are founded on honesty and mutual support.